there needs to be enough clearance on these shelves to be able to house the full depth of this assembly right here, which includes these screw heads, which is something I've definitely messed up on before. So it's always good to test a little bit. And here we have it, a good lesson in design. Hey guys, this is another quick video demonstrating some of the construction techniques I used in building this trim box right here. If you don't know what this is, I recently made a video on it detailing all of the functions and uses with regard to flight simming. So if you want to know what this is, go ahead and check that out. I'll leave a link in the description. But this video is actually going to focus on these three buttons right here and how I built them. So I've done a little prep work ahead of time and made all of the major intensive assemblies ahead of time. So without further ado, because I am a relative novice at this is essentially my first really even semi-complex Arduino project. I'm just using these simple push buttons, and I hope if I can get it in the light. These are like the most basic push buttons you can get for an Arduino. So I'm using those, and then I'm just using them along with a 10K resistor. And what I've done is I've got three of them in this this bundle or this bouquet of buttons, right? And if I can get the camera focus correct, you can see, I'll just look at one of them. It's just a button and a 10K resistor, and I just took one of these plates and I cut it up into sections, and that's what makes the base oh, not that one. That's what makes the base of these buttons and resistors. This fourth plate just collects all of the wires into a nice bundle, and then I can send those out to the front of the box. So that's the buttons and all the wiring right there. This right here is what I'm using in place of PCB. I'm still working up the courage to give that a try. So for now, I'm 3D printing my frames for the arrangement of the buttons. And this is a very simple frame right here. It's got 8 holes these are screw through holes. It's got 3 large windows, and these are going to house the buttons. And then it's got 1 slot here, and that's for the this base collector board. So the way these work is you just take one button, thread it through, and I happen to I've tested out the alignment already, and just snaps in right like that. No adhesive, it's fairly fixed in place. If I need to, I can pop it out again really easily, just like that. But I'll go ahead and just lock that into place. Then the next button, just like so. And then the third button, just like that. And now this is essentially taking the place of a PCB. Oh, and this I typically just slot in right that. So the whole assembly is, let me keep my hand on that. The whole assembly is like this. And typically what I'll do is I'll drop a little bead of hot glue right around there at the end of assembly. But this holds the buttons. But the next piece is the panel, or the outward facing panel. And this is the next part. It holds the buttons, and it holds some additional little pieces that, well, I guess I'll just show them to you right now. So these are the buttons, and these are little spring tabs. So I'll see if I can get those. These are the buttons. We're going to do a little bit of work on them during assembly, and these are just little tabs, and I'll talk more about them when I use them. So the first things first, these buttons do go right over the little Arduino push buttons, just like that. But before we get to that, we have to do just a little work. Typically when I 3D print things, there is a side of the print that is like designed from the offset to be printed from. So I print all these buttons upside down. However, they have to have a sort of mushroom shape like this. So when I do these buttons, I print them on the wall face down. So with just a little bit of finessing, that wall should break away. Just like that. We have this little bit of plastic that can be discarded. And then we have a button. So I'm going to do that on these other two. Great. So now we have our three buttons, and those will just drop into the panel like so. And if we line up the button board, we can sort of hold these in alignment. This is a hard thing to hold on to, and so I have some screws that'll make this much better long-term thing. But you essentially have a sandwich right here, and I can already click these just a little bit, but there's still a little work that needs to be done. So these are rather large buttons for the Arduino push buttons. So one of the problems that can lead to is that it's very easy to torque the buttons on a central pivot point. So the way that I've tried to work around this is with these little springs, and they don't look like typical springs, but what I do is I insert them behind the button, and these little tabs stick into the frame, and then there are some inward facing tabs, and those provide a little bit of spring pressure just on the edges of the button. So I'll try to show that off. They're also very useful for just keeping the button in place. There we go. I'll have to adjust that later, but if I flip this over, you know, these buttons fall out. This one stays right about here. It's not a lot of pressure. It's just enough that I can kind of thumb it a bit. Most of the pressure is going to be taken up by the button in the center. So let's get the other two in. All right, there we go. All the buttons are in place. So if we hold it up again, just like that. So all that's left is a little bit of aligning the buttons. Let's move that one over. There we go. So those springs, all they do is they just dampen the click a little bit, and they make sure that there's an even force around the perimeter. And it's just a little bit of a helping force when you're when the thumb or your fingers just slightly off on the corner, right? You can still push it just a little bit. So the last part in this sandwich is screwing it all together. So for this, I'm just using these self-tapping screws. Nothing too fancy here. The reason I went for these screws is, or I went for screws in the system, is because it wasn't clear to me on the first go through how to tension these buttons correctly. So what I've done is I've put in these, or these screws can be tensioned individually, and that way I can find like the perfect snap. All right, well that's pretty much it to assembly. I might rebalance it later, tension the screws a little differently, but I hope I can hear, like, hope you guys can hear this. Like, this one's a little stickier, so that one will take a little bit of adjustment. But compared to this, oh, that's much louder. I used thicker leaf springs in this one though, so they do a little more to dampen. But otherwise, it's feeling pretty good. It's looking like a pretty good module. This would be stuck right in here, and normally I would just do a little bead of hot glue right there. The wires lead out to what will eventually be the brain of the module. The last thing is this piece right here. So when I'm doing prototyping, I like to work with as small a piece for fitting as I can get away with. And this right here is actually, I hope this comes through, it is actually the very top of the base of the trim box. So this just lets me test how everything is going to be. The big thing with this is there needs to be enough clearance on these shelves to be able to house the full depth of this assembly right here, which includes these screw heads, which is something I've definitely messed up on before. So it's always good to test a little bit. And here we have it, a good lesson in design. So let me drop in a couple screws. So what we have here is these screws right here are blocking this panel from fully seating against the frame. So that means that when I go back to the source file, these shelves right here are going to have to drop just a little bit lower. Well, it's a good reminder that things like this can happen, and that's why we prototype with as small parts and as little material as we can get away with. So a little bit of an unsatisfying ending. I'm sorry to see it that way. I'll go ahead and probably print off a couple more parts, make some minor adjustments. I'll talk about all the things that change. But well, if anybody would like to see a proper resolution to this video, I'll go ahead and I'll make another one. And yeah, hopefully I'll see you guys in the next one.